Hi, my friend Kevin here. This pandemic has changed a lot of things, not only how we work, but also where we work during this pandemic, even likely after this difficult time. Upwork study found that about 42% of all American workforce remained remote in the rest of the 2021, and about 22% will be remote by 2025. That amount of remote worker in the next 5 years is about twice as of what it was before COVID-19. This wide acceptance and realization of remote working has allowed a lot more people to flee from expensive cities. For example, by August last year in San Francisco, twice as many homes were listed for sales compared with the same period 2019 as people looked to leave the city. While listing prices have dropped by 5%, Manhattan has also experienced about 4.2% drop in home values as residents leave for suburban markets. In Toronto, Canada, one of the most expensive cities in the country, the number of new listings dropped about 60% last year April and gradually rose up to the peak of 20,000 in September, which is almost 25% higher than the same months of 2019. Then the seasonality brought down the amount of new listings as it went through the winter. The number of sales experienced similar pattern over the same time period. Interestingly, when we look at sales to new listing ratio, only in December last year, it exceeded 100%. That means in that month, people bought more than newly listed. That makes sense because people usually delist their homes during Christmas. However, even with these dramatic changes, the average resale price in Toronto went up compared with the same months of the previous year, except for April 2020. That also makes sense because interest rate has dropped to a historical low in May, and people can afford slightly more expensive home now. Here's a crazy graph that I found in the report, which is showing the average home prices from 1994 to 2021 in January's. As you can see, the average home price in Toronto has rose from 200,000 to 872,000. That's about 4.37 times increase within 27 years. That's crazy. Even 10 years ago, it was about $400,000 on average. Now, with $400,000, you can even buy a studio in Toronto. Now let's look at affordability indicator, which is share of average household income used for mortgage principal and interest, property tax, and utilities on average price GTA resale home. I think this income includes income tax, which if we exclude, the percentages will be likely much higher than these. As you can see, the affordability index has risen recently since 2013, about 10%. Local young people can't afford a home in GTA within the first 5 years or longer after they started working, unless he or she has a family who own a pharmaceutical company in China, or a coal mining in Russia, or an oil refinery in Texas. So the question is, why Toronto housing price rose so much starting from May last year? Even the pandemic hit the world so hard. Especially lately, it's on fire. Well, that's because with this historically low interest rates, people can afford a little more expensive homes than they can a year ago, when their income didn't change much. Especially if this rate is locked for a longer period of time, people are more willing to sign. This caused the overheating of housing market in Canada and US. People say that the entire Canadian housing market is on fire now. Let's see if that's true. Here I'm showing housing market overview of Toronto versus Calgary, January this year, 2021. This is from a website called UWA. Compared to January last year, the average housing prices of all property types have risen about 15% in Toronto, while it dropped 6% in Calgary. The insane part is that the average prices of detached, semi-detached, and townhouse in Toronto all increased by 26 to 32% within just 1 year, while the average condo apartment price dropped about 5%. In comparison, look at those of Calgary. Everything looks like on deep discounts, more than 50% lower. The average housing price of all property types has dropped 6% compared with that of last year. The most interesting part is that the average prices of detached and townhouse have dropped about 9 to 10%, while condo apartment price rose about 4%. Of course, the number of transactions has risen dramatically. In the past year, about 27 to 85%, except for that of townhouse in Toronto, which dropped about 30%. Now, let's look at Vancouver and Edmonton as well, just to compare. Vancouver housing price on average increased about 5%, while that of Edmonton rose about 4%. In Vancouver, detached house rose the most by 10%. Townhouse and condo apartment only by 3 to 4%. In Edmonton, semi-detached and detached rose by 2 to 3%, while condo price rose by 6%. It's very interesting that the condo price has increased in these two Albertan cities, while the housing market of Canada has been heated up, while Edmonton and Calgary aren't so much, and even dropped a lot. This probably because of President Biden, who has already suspended the Keystone XL project. The above two graphs are from a website called WUWA. And when I look at the following graphs from CREB, Calgary Real Estate Board, I started speculating some of WUWA's data. These graphs show the same averages shown in WUWA's graphs, but their year-over-year changes are completely different from what's shown on WUWA's website. I believe year-over-year here means that January 2021 compared with January 2020, which is exactly what WUWA is showing. The total residential price in January 2021 is $423,800, exactly same as WUWA's, and went up 1.9% instead of 6% decrease shown in WUWA's website. The average detached home price is same, $492,900, but it increased 2.9% instead of decreasing 9% as shown on WUWA's website. Semi-detached price increased by 1.3%. Row price, which means townhouse price, increased about 0.5% to $280,900, exactly same, instead of 10% decrease shown on WUWA's website. Apartment price dropped 0.4% to $245,100, instead of 4% rise shown by WUWA. I don't know why their data are different, but I would trust CREB's data because their changes are less dramatic and make sense. Because it's likely that people can afford a little bit more expensive home now, since interest rates are historically low and remote working has become more popular. And people started moving out of city center apartments to more spacious detached and semi-detached houses. This moment has caused apartment price drop and house price going up. Another reason I trust CREB's data is because CREB is a large association of 5,300 licensed realtors across Calgary. It's more like a non-profit group and less like a profit-driven organization. Whereas WUWA, I never heard of it until I started doing this video. And to me, it's more like a profit-driven organization. Sometimes, maybe oftentimes, profit-driven organizations say things or say in ways that would benefit them. So be careful. Alright, today's video is a short one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to destroy the like button below and smash the subscribe button if you haven't. Thank you very much. As always, see you next time.